all right. Shalom, family. Shalom to those of you that are seeing this on YouTube. Shalom to you who are going to be seeing this on Zoom Live. This is Dr. Russ E. Hoover, and I'm excited to be coming to you this evening to be bringing you this very powerful message. I have a lot in my heart and my mind that I want to get across to you folks. I am very hopeful and prayerful that it will be able to be received and you can get the benefit of this word. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to be getting back to Genesis as soon as I get a chance to exhaust this topic. We were dealing with some things on last week. I did a short video and I ended up doing a Bible study on can I sin, willfully sin, and still make it in? And I feel comfortable that the word that have gone out concerning that topic is sufficient for this time. But what I want to do today, my game plan is to really begin to plant some seed and arm believers with the information that they need in order to win the overcoming life, in order to experience the overcomer's life, right? So we're going to share some things today. Again, we're very hopeful that we can get everything across in such a way that you can walk away from this feeling victorious in your ability to walk this walk, all right? So we're gonna go ahead and share our screen and begin to lay some foundation for this message today. All right, so we're talking about overcomers. We're gonna be living that life. We're about that life. We're about that overcomer's life, all right? So let's get to it. Let's get to it. Well, the first thing we want to start off with is understanding the process that led to Adam and Eve's failure. If you can understand processes, and you can correct those processes, and that will allow you to have the ammunition that you need to make the corrections necessary so that you can be successful moving forward. All right, so we want to understand the process that led to Adam and Eve's failure. The first thing they did was they rejected the instruction, right? They rejected the instruction. So the Most High was talking to Adam, and he said, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, right? You may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat. For in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. So this instruction is pretty clear. This is what the Most High had to tell him. You know, in the day that you eat of that tree, you shall surely die. You need to understand that the enemy is here to deceive us, right? As his whole goal is to bring deception. So in this case, Eve believed the deception. You know, do as thou wilt. Do whatever you want, right? There won't be any consequence. So they believed the deception. Part of their process was believing the deception. I can do whatever I want to do. This is my life. This is my body. I can do what I choose to do, and I will not have a consequence. That's what they wanted to believe. And that's what the devil wanted to make them believe. And so we find now Eve having this conversation with the serpent. And the devil's talking. Has Elohim indeed said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And Eve responds, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim has said, you shall not eat it, nor shall you touch it, lest ye die. Now, we've dealt with this in times past. Eve was not clear on the instruction. Now, she believed that if she touched that fruit or ate of the fruit, it would cause death. The Most High said nothing about touching the fruit. He said, don't eat the fruit. Now, the reality is, if it's something that you shouldn't be eating, you shouldn't be touching it. You shouldn't even be in the same vicinity with it. But she made a decision to have this conversation with the devil, which is the first thing that she did wrong. She's sitting there conversing with somebody she has no business conversing with, and she's not clear on her facts. So the devil tells her, you will not surely die. You will not surely die. I know what, Elohim said. But I'm telling you, you're not going to die. There's not going to be the consequence that he said. For Elohim knows that in the day that you eat of it, your eyes shall be open and you shall be like Elohim. So now he's getting Eve to believe that there's something great available to her that the Most High is not making available. There's something available on here that's greater than her present experience, and somehow the Most High is withholding that. That's what the enemy is trying to get across to her in this dialogue. And he speaks to a lot of us in the same manner. You know, there's something more. I've had so many conversations with people from the day I first got saved. It's like, I'm talking to people, letting them know I'm a Christian, I'm in the Word, and they'd say things like, "That's a good place to start," but there's a whole lot more information, there's a whole lot more knowledge, there's a whole lot more out there than what you got in that Word. So he's trying to get you to believe that the Most High is trying to keep you restricted when he's exposing you to the greatest wisdom on the planet. So Satan, through the serpent, is having this conversation, trying to get her to believe that the Most High is not giving her everything that she can possibly get. And he's saying that you shall be like Elohim, knowing good and evil. He's trying to get her to believe that this is going to be some kind of benefit to her that's going to take her life to the next level. So they receive the consequence, separation and death. When the Most High says something, he means what he says. So they receive the consequence, separation and death. So Eve made her way toward the tree. They make it seem like it's apples, but the Bible never said they were apples. It said the fruit. Don't eat of that tree of the knowledge of good and evil. We don't know what the fruit was, okay? But she's looking at this tree, and she's like, okay, this is looking pretty good, right? And so she's taking of the fruit, she's eating of the fruit, and she's giving it to her husband, right? And what is he doing? He's going to eat the fruit also, right? And so we know that this is not a good situation, because now that they've eaten this fruit, now their eyes are open and they know that they are naked and they're not feeling as comfortable as they did in their previous state. And so now, they're looking, they're hearing, and the Most High is calling them. Well, this is interesting. And they're saying they're hiding. This is one of the things that bother me the most. The Most High used to walk with them in the cool of the day every day. But here in this present situation now, they are running and hiding from the Most High, hiding in the trees, not wanting him to see them. And so the Most High now, he wants to let them know where they are, want them to contemplate their present situation. So he's calling out to them, where are you, Adam? Where are you? Not, I don't know where you are. He's telling Adam, do you know where you are? Where are you? Look at the sadness on Eve's face. And what did Adam say? I heard your voice, the same voice he had been hearing every day from the time he was created. I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid. I was afraid. He never experienced fear before. But now that he's outside of the will of the Most High, there's been separation by his spirit. His spirit is now dead to the things of the Most High. And now he is afraid because he's lost his glory. He said, because I was naked, I was afraid basically to be in your presence. And I hid myself. Who told you that you were naked? The Most High is asking. Have you eaten from the tree of which I commanded you that you should not eat? And so obviously we know that the answer is yes. And so this leads to the fall of man, the loss of our dominion, and sin and death reigning on the earth through, and you know who he is, know your enemy, Satan, the God of this world, right? So we know that he's the God of this world. 2 Corinthians 4:3-4 tells us that he is the God of this world. And so these are the curses that the Most High named at the fall of man. He said, "Curse is the ground He said also for the woman, pain in childbearing. For the man in his labor, thorns and thistles, or in other words, unfruitful labor. And he said, we're going to return to the dust or experience death. These were not originally any of the things the Most High planned for mankind. But because of the fall of man, these are the things that we as a people have to experience. Let's take a look now. So these are the kind of things he was looking for. You're trying to bear fruit, but he was having an unfruitful harvest. You know, when it came to, you know, women, you know, she's in the hospital now. She's great with child. And this is real life here. And she is doing what? The women she's going through pain, right? She is in pain. She was in so much pain that her husband was there. He was literally crying for her because she was in so much pain going through the situation. And death. You know, I don't know, you know, you see gravestones all over the place. Depending upon where you ride, you're gonna see gravestones. How many remember this guy, Charles Bronson? You know, he's an old actor, right? Death Wish. He was the original Death Wish star. He made about 4 or 5 of those. They were pretty good too. So guess what? He's not with us anymore. He's gone back to the dust. How many know this guy? Right? He was one of the John Belushi. He was one of the Blues Brothers, right? Funny as could be. I think he ended up dying of an overdose, cocaine or something, or shooting some heroin or something. He was living that crazy life, and now he's going back to the dust, right? So all the things that the Most High said were going to be a consequence for the lives that Adam and Eve lived. We see that these are realities even to this day. Everything he said would happen has happened just like he said. Okay, so now we must understand our enemy's devices. We can look at what happened with Adam and Eve, and we can kind of get a glimpse and understand what he's going to do. Adam and Eve received an instruction from the Most High, and the first thing the devil did was to try to come and really distort the instruction, distort the word. So I'm going to ask you a question. What is the one thing that is guaranteed to cause an attack of the devil? What is the one thing that is guaranteed to cause an attack of the devil? Anybody got any idea? Any idea?
What's your thoughts?
Your thoughts?
Yeah.
It's not your thoughts.
Knowledge.
Knowledge? What kind of knowledge?
Evil thinking.
Evil thinking? It wouldn't be that. Something a little bit more powerful than that. Give you one more guess. What do you think it might be? Again, what is the one thing that is guaranteed to cause an attack of the devil? And I should have put another word in there.
Fornication.
Immediately. Now, we talked about fornication last week, but it's not that.
You said the cause an attack of the devil.
Immediately. Cause an immediate attack.
On a person?
Anybody.
Immediate.
It's immediate attack.
If they're trying to change their life?
Well, then you're getting closer. Let me go ahead and get into it now. Let's get into this, right? It is the word of Elohim. It's the word of Elohim. We're going to take a look at this now. We're going to be looking at Mark 4. And for your notes, we're going to go to Mark 4. Mark 4 is one of the most important chapters in the whole Bible. Mark 4, I'm going to say it again, is one of the most important chapters in the entire Bible. Let's look what it says here. Yeshua now is with his disciples, and he's with a whole host of other people that's following him, right? And look what it says here. Mark 4, verse 2, and he taught them many things by parables and said unto them in his doctrine. So this is his one of his main doctrines is saying here. And look what it says here now in verse 3. These words are almost redundant. Hearken, which means pay attention. So when you say hearken now, when you tell someone to hearken, you're saying pay attention. But then when you say behold, that means stop, look, and listen. So it's like you're saying, pay attention now, stop, look, and listen. So anything that come behind those words gotta be important. Pay attention now. Stop, look, and listen. So what are you gonna say? It went out a sword or so. Okay, that's what I had to say. There went out a sword or so. And what happened? And it came to pass as he sowed, some fell by the wayside, and the fowls of the air came and devoured it up. Now put it in your notes, the fowls of the air. Put in your notes, the fowls of the air. Okay, that's going to be an important statement there. And some fell on stony ground, where it had not much earth. And immediately it sprang up because it had no depth of earth. So in other words, instead of growing down and developing roots, which gives it an anchor, it went up and built a flower very quickly. But when the sun was up, it was scorched. And because it had no roots, no way to draw water from out of the ground, it did what? It withered away. It withered away. And some fell among thorns. And the thorns grew up and choked it, and it yielded no fruit. And others fell on good ground and did yield fruit that sprang up and increased and brought forth some 30, some 60, and some 100. This particular person was fruitful. This situation, the seeds produced, right? And he said unto them, he that hath ears to hear, let him hear. Now, this is a saint that's excited about the word. You know, she cherishes the word. And that's how we got to become. All right. Now, it's a lot we got to get out of Mark. It's a lot we got to get out of Mark. So we're going to be dealing with this for a minute. And when he was alone, they that were about him with the 12 asked of him the parable. And he said unto them, listen to this now. Unto you it is given to know some of the mysteries. Is that what it said?
No.
Most of the mysteries.
No.
It said, unto you it is given to know the mystery. The mystery. When it says the mystery, that's one thing in particular that is of vital importance. Okay? And he said unto them, unto you is given to know the mystery of the kingdom of Elohim. I don't know if you can get any more important than that. Hmm? You should be writing that one in your notes. Right, verse 11. Unto you is given to know the mystery of the kingdom of Elohim. So I'm going to say this right now. As I go through this lesson and break this thing down, if it's anything you do not understand, please raise a hand and ask questions, because I need you guys to get this. I am giving you the formula for success. What I am breaking down for you today is the formula for how you succeed in the kingdom of Elohim. How many hear what I'm saying?
Amen.
So you got to get this now, all right? But unto them that are without, all these things are done in parables, that what? Seeing, they may see and not perceive, and hearing, they may hear and not understand. Listen, anytime they should be converted, that means to be restored back to the state of being with the Most High, and their sins should be forgiven them. So he gave them parables, but we're going to go into the next phase of this, which you're going to break down the parable and make it plain. So make sure your ears are on, make sure your eyes are open, and you're listening to understand. Okay, everybody with me? You got your seatbelts on now? Y'all ready? All right, let's get going. And he said unto them, know ye not this parable? Do you not get this parable? And he says, then look at the question. How then will you know all parables? In other words, this is a parable that unlocks everything else. Is everybody with me? If you understand the principles that's getting ready to be unfolded, you will understand how to win in this life. How many want to win in this life?
Amen.
All right. This is the one parable you must understand. Let's get into it. The sower soweth the word, okay? So the word is the seed being sown, okay? And what happens? And these are they by the wayside where the word is sown, but when they have heard, what happens now? Satan takes his time, he goes on a vacation, he takes maybe 2 or 3 years off, and then he thinks about it, and he says, maybe I need to go back and investigate this seed being sown. Is that what the word said? Oh, it didn't say that. I must have the wrong translation. Let me get to the King James Version. And these are they by the wayside where the word is sown. But when they have heard, when you hear the word, Satan comes immediately. Why? And take away the word that was sown in their heart? He's coming for the word. He's coming for the word. The word is a seed that will produce after its kind. So the last thing he wants is for you to hide that word in your heart. The moment that word gets in your heart, it has the ability to transform you, just like a seed in the ground. You can get a barren plot of land, no grass, no nothing on it. You can plant grass seed and you can plant trees, and they will transform the ground and it'll become fruitful just because of the seed that was introduced to that ground. And guess what? You can take a sinner, introduce a sinner to the word, and the word can transform a sinner into a saint. Oh, it's quiet up in here. And guess what? I don't care what type of sinner the person is. Whatever the sin is, there is a scripture that pertains to that sin that will give that sinner the ammunition to go from being a sinner to being a saint. Oh, it's quiet up in here. We can really deal with this. Yeah, that's a reason to shout right there. I might need to go get the B3 organ right about now and start cutting the step, because we can really beat the devil up in this house today. How many hear what I'm saying? Verse 16. And these are they likewise which are sown on stony ground, who when they have heard the word, immediately receive it with gladness. Oh, I'm excited. I'm happy about that. And they have no root in themselves. And so they endure for a little while, right? They endure for a time, but afterwards, when affliction or persecution arise for the word's sake, the affliction and the persecution arise. Why? For the word's sake. When affliction or persecution arise for the word's sake, immediately they are offended. How many hear what I'm saying? It's quiet up here. All right. And these are they which are sown among thorns, such as hear the word, and the cares of this world. Got to get my ride. Got to get that money. Got to get that relationship. Got to get that house, right? The cares of this world, and the deceitfulness of riches, and the lust of other things entering in, it chokes the word, and it becomes unfruitful. The word becomes unfruitful anytime you put any of these type of things ahead of the word. Anytime you put any of these things ahead of the word, it will create a problem for you. Whoever's taking notes, I need you to write this scripture down. Matthew 6. I want to say verse 33. I need to visit that. It's not in my notes. It's not on the slide, but I want to go to that. So write it down, put a circle around it or a star, whatever you got to do, and say, Dr. Russ, you need to visit that verse of scripture. It's going to be Matthew 6:33. Matthew 6:33. Yeah. All right. So the thorns and or the world stop them from bearing fruit. We cannot be these individuals, right? We cannot be these individuals. We can't let things of the world, which is only a temporary state, rob us from getting into the kingdom of the Most High, which is eternal state, right? We gotta put those things in the right perspective. You know, am I gonna allow this temporary realm to dominate my world and cause me to miss out on the eternal realm? See, once you're able to rationalize that and put it in the right perspective, then it's just a matter of making the right choices and doing the things you need to win. Okay, so we're gonna deal with that. Verse 20. And these are they which are sown on good ground. What are they doing? They're giving attention to the word that was sown, right? They're giving attention to the word. These are they which are sown on good ground, such as hear the word and receive it, right? They're hearing that word, they're discussing that word, they're breaking that word down. They want to get it. I got to get this word, right? And they bring forth fruit, some 30, some 60, and some 100-fold. It may have started off with just one person, but they kept sharing, they kept sharing, they kept sharing, and they just keep adding, right? They just keep adding, keep transforming, keep plucking people out of the fire. And I'm telling you one thing, when you get excited about doing that, it changes your world. When you sat down with somebody whose life is lost, they may have even been suicidal, and you had a conversation with them, let them know that there's something better for them, and you lead that person to a sinner's prayer, man, that's one of the greatest experiences you ever have on this planet. Right? You hear what I'm saying? So you got to get excited about doing the things of the Most High. So good ground is not twisting or reinterpreting the word. Remember what Eve was doing? She didn't fully understand the word. She was reinterpreting it, and it led her to her downfall. So we can't be those people, right? We got to give attention to the word. And what we should be, especially if you're brand new in this thing, the scripture tells us, as newborn babes, desire the pure milk of the word. Why? That you may grow thereby. So you gotta get into that word. And I was super hungry when I first got saved. I used to work from 4 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. I would get home by 12. I got me something to eat. And I still remember the first night I read the entire book of Genesis, the whole book. I mean, I couldn't put it down. The more I read, the more I wanted to read. The next day, I had the same schedule, 4 to 11:30. I started on the book of Exodus. I did not go to sleep until I finished the book of Exodus, them coming out of Egypt. And then, got into Numbers, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Now, Leviticus was more difficult. I didn't read that one in one day. We'll tell you that right now. That was a hard one. That was a hard one. But Numbers and Deuteronomy, I was able to blow through those pretty good too. But as newborn babes, you must desire the pure milk of the word that you may grow thereby. But now it gets to a point now where you can't stay a baby, right? You cannot stay a baby. So what does he got here? Strained biblical doctrine. What does that mean? It's not the meat of the word, right? He's got some some simple doctrines. Jesus wept. Maybe another few other verses, but this dude is not growing because he's not studying. He's not giving any attention to the word. And so, where he should be leading others, he can't even lead himself. Still wearing a diaper. That's a problem, right? That's a problem. And guess what? You got people in the church, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, still don't really know any verse of scripture. All they are religious. Yeah, they're just religious, right? So I'm telling you, those of you that have been participating in this Bible study, you're ahead of a lot of folk that's been in the church for many, many years. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Okay. So what must we do to win in this life? You must apply biblical principles that are designed for you to win. You must apply the biblical principles that are designed. Why are they designed? For you to win. You got to understand that the Most High did not give us his Bible as just something to beat us upside the head with. It was created to give you the ammunition that you need to win in this life. And I'm going to teach you really how it worked, how it got me to the place where I'm at. When I was first saved, I had an issue, and you've all heard my testimony, about being a whoremonger, right? The day that I got saved, I was dating 5 different women, right? So what did I have to do in order to change my attitude about the lifestyle that I've been living in? Because the reality is, when I examine my life, I was not happy with the life that I lived. When I compared it, when I considered what the young man said, him being a virgin, and I looked at my life, being a single parent and as a teenager, and in and out of relationships, and even though I would tell people, I'm not committed, there was still broken hearts involved a lot of times, and so I looked at all that, and I said, what, this has not been a fruitful life. And so what I did, I got in the scriptures, and I found all the scriptures in the Bible that dealt with my particular situation. I spent a lot of times in Proverbs. Proverbs talks about the loose woman that will reduce a young man to a piece of bread. It talks about being with the loose woman, and it said that your money will end up in somebody else's household. And I said, man, now look at this now. I had, a child by one person who was going to, here I couldn't afford a car note, and they were going to Disney World every year.
Wow.
Right? They would, because, she was dating a guy who worked in the plant. And so because she wasn't married, she was getting all the money that I had coming to her, right? So that was all extra. And her and his boyfriend that's working in the plant, taking my extra money that's coming to the household and going on trips and all this stuff. So when I read that in Proverbs, I said, man, how come somebody didn't show me this when I was a kid? Because just like in the Word, when I read that, I said, man, this, I got mad, right? I got mad that no one told me that this stuff was in the book. I really did. I got angry, but I said, you know what? I know it now. So I'm not going to add any more, children outside of wedlock. I'm going to live my life, with some sense. Why? Because the Bible has principles that are designed for me to win. And if I apply those principles to my life, then I can begin to win in this life. How many hear what I'm saying?
Amen.
All right, we got to get this now because, we already know that single families are more likely to be in poverty than families where both, husband and wife, mother and father's in the household. So then why aren't we creating households that are not of a perfect design? And what is it about us that think that we're going to defy the odds and we're going to create households that's going to cause us to not be able to have the greatest success? And see, the Bible teaches us these things, but they're not being taught. I've been to very few churches that had conversations about that. Very few. They're having church every day and they talk about other stuff, but they're not dealing with the things that really matter, that's affecting our communities. So the process of seed time and harvest. Mark 4, verse 26. And he said, so is the kingdom of heaven. There's a lot of like as principles, okay? A like as principle, like for example, the Holy Spirit is compared to water, right? So it takes the shape of his vessel, right? That's water. It takes the shape of his vessel. Yeshua is compared to a rock, right? A rock doesn't change, right? So what does it say about Yeshua HaMashiach? Yeshua HaMashiach, the same, yesterday, today, and forever. That's like a rock. I don't care how long you look at that rock, it ain't changing, right? It can be wet, it can be dry, it can be cold, it can be covered with snow, it can be an ice storm. When everything is thawed out, the rock is still the same, right? So he's talking about a like-as principle here. So look what it says here now. And he said, so is the kingdom of Elohim, as if a man should cast seed into the ground and should sleep and rise night and day, and the seed should spring and grow up, he knows not how. So the kingdom of Elohim is as if a man should cast a seed into the ground. So it's telling us now that the way his kingdom works, it works the same way that the principle of a seed works. Now, if anybody ever planted a garden or anything, I know we in the city, so a lot of us don't do that. I've never planted a garden, but I know people who have. So they would go in and break that land, break it up, break up the fallow ground, get it down to the darker soil, right? And then they would plant those seeds. And then they would look out for the seeds. Sometimes they would put scarecrows and things like that. Why do they need to do that? because a bird comes immediately, right, and attack that seed. It scares the birds away. Yeah, it looks like a live person, and so sometimes the birds want to stay away from that because they think it might, it might attack them. So these are some of the things that they have done. So we got to understand now why is it saying the kingdom of Elohim is as if a man should cast a seed into the ground? And so he just got to give us some examples of different kinds of ground. And the ground he described were people, wasn't it? You had wayside people, you had stony ground people, you had people that was among thorns, and then you had the good ground, the good soil. So he's basically telling us that his kingdom operates the same way that the seed principle operates. So if you choose which one you're going to be, if you're going to be a wayside saint, then no, you're not going to be fruitful. If you're going to be a stony ground saint, you're going to bear a little bit of fruit, but then it's going to dry out and die. So you're still not bearing no fruit. And if you're going to be a saint that you plant the seed, but you plant it among thorns, which means, yeah, I'm reading the word, but I'm really meditating on all this stuff that the world's got. I'm on Facebook, I'm on TikTok, right? I'm on chat, I'm on this, I'm on that. And I'm looking at all this stuff because all the stuff they're talking about is all this, got to get mine, got to build this stack, and lust and all this other stuff. And so you're reading the word, but because you expose yourself to all this other extra stuff that's not producing, that word is being choked and it's not bearing fruit. Now, I'm gonna tell you one of the things I had to do when I first got saved. I stopped watching TV, right? I mean, I literally stopped watching. I had two programs that I watched. I used to watch the Bill Cosby show with when he, Dr. Huxtable and all that stuff. That was a nice, wholesome program. And then I think Family Ties came on after that. So that was my hour of TV for the week. I didn't go to the theater until Star Wars came out. And what was it? Empire Strike Back. When Luke was going through that training, I was in the show. And that back then, once you paid for one ticket, you could just sit there. I must have watched that 4 or 5 times in one day. As he was talking to Luke, talking about not giving into the dark side, I'm sitting there saying, I'm not gonna give in to sin. I was in training. As Luke was being in training, I was just equating that to myself being in training to not giving into the dark side, right? And so if it wasn't feeding my spirit, I didn't have no time for it. I used to, I was an athlete, so I was definitely into sports, right? So I used to watch football, but then, I noticed that they always had these cheerleaders, and they were giving them less and less clothes to wear. And so me being single, I didn't need to see these pom-pom girls, shaking all their stuff in my face. So you know what I did? I stopped watching football. I'm not kidding you. This is the things I did. I said, okay, am I going to win this game, or am I just going to play tiddlywinks with this game? So anything that offended me, anything that caused me to think about the old life, I cut it off. If your hand offend you, cut it off. If your eye offend you, pluck it out. You got to take this thing serious, because you know what this is? It's life and death. It's life and death. So, one thing you got to understand, he said, the sower sows the word, so the word is a seed. But let me give you something else. Every word is a seed. Every word is a seed. Not only the word of Elohim is a seed, but every word is a seed. So if you get exposed to a negative seed, some slippery Joe whispered in your ear, that's a seed. That's a seed. And that seed will germinate and grow if you give it attention. Oh, it's quiet up in here. Amen to that. Right? Say amen, oh mere ouch. But it's all true. Yes, it is. Every word is a seed. Now you gotta decide, what seed am I gonna plant and what seed am I gonna pluck up?
Right.
That's a decision you got to make, because this is what happens now. I'm gonna read this again, Mark 4:26. And he said, so is the kingdom of Elohim as if a man should cast a seed into the ground. So if you plant seed, and all of us are planting seed, whether it's good seed or bad seed, and you should sleep and rise night and day, and the seed should spring and grow up, and you know not how. So for the person who's a diligent sower, who's giving attention to the word that he's sowing, right? He's getting a harvest that he wants. For the person who's sloppy in their harvesting and seed sowing, they're also getting a harvest, but they're not getting the harvest that they want. And they're wondering why the life is bearing the fruit that it's bearing. It's because you're not being a diligent farmer. You're kind of being a sloppy farmer, letting all types of seed get into your ground, and then it's bringing forth fruit that you really don't desire. Because every seed planted is going to produce. I don't care. Every seed planted, if the soil is rich, and you plant, some things in there that's got poison in it, right? Guess what? There's some plants that got poison. You plant that seed next to the tomato plant, and a potato plant, you're gonna have some nice looking fruit. And guess what? When you eat it, you're gonna die. Because you didn't take care of the soil and then make sure that the wrong seed didn't get planted. How many hear what I'm saying in this house?
Amen. Right.
All right. For the earth brings forth fruit of herself. The ground is designed to produce the fruit. Once the seed is introduced in the ground, it will automatically produce. Everybody agree with that? First, it's going to start producing what? A blade going to break up out of the ground, then an ear. After that, the full corn in the ear. That process is going to happen over and over again. A farmer will tell you it's every year. I'm not plant that corn, and so I understand the process. So what they do, they examine that corn when they pluck it, and they look for the biggest corn. And what do you think they do with the biggest corn?
They eat it, don't they?
So some say eat it. What else? Anybody else got any other ideas? So you're looking for the biggest corn, and so some say eat it. What else would you do with it? Anything else? You think if you go to the grocery store now, you're looking for the plumpest, ripest, biggest of whatever it is you're looking for, right?
Make sure it's right.
But guess what the farmer does? When the farmer brings his harvest in and he examines it, he's looking for the biggest of the fruit to replant. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because every seed produces after its kind. So if I'm putting the small seed in the ground, I'm going to end up getting a small harvest. And if I keep pulling the smallest of the seed, my harvest is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. The fruit's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. So you're always looking to put the largest of the fruit in the ground so he can keep producing a bigger and a bigger fruit. Okay, everybody got that? All right, we got a question here. Let's see. All right, there say you're gonna replant the biggest, so you got it right. Good stuff. All right. All right. For the earth bring forth fruit of herself, first the blade, then the ear. After that, the full corn in the ear. But when the fruit is brought forth, immediately he put it in the sickle because the harvest is come. So this is the process of seed time and harvest. When you understand the process, you don't participate in seed time and harvest hoping and wishing. You participate in the process of seed time and harvest as if this is a done deal. Do you know what he told Noah after he disembarked the ark? He let him know, no longer will the ground not yield its fruit anymore. I'm going to make it so that you can begin to be fruitful and multiply, right? He reestablished that principle. And then he said, seed time and harvest, hot and cold, summer and winter shall not cease. So he's basically he told Noah that these are principles. Do we still have hot and cold? We're just coming out of summer season where we had the warm. We're right around the corner from the cold season, right? Summer and winter, we still having that. Day and night, we still have that. And seed time and harvest. These are all principles. He's letting us know these are principles that will not end. And so if that's true, if seed time and harvest is a principle that is real and true, I need to take the time to become a master farmer of the word. I need to become a master farmer of the word and make sure I'm reaping the harvest that I desire. Is everybody with me so far? Now I'm gonna take this home, but I want to take my time and make sure you're getting this principle. Okay. Mark 4:30. And he said, whereunto shall we liken the kingdom of Elohim? He's trying to make this point home. He wants to get you to the place where you get this. This one right here is serious right here. And he said, whereunto shall we liken the kingdom of Elohim? Or with what comparison shall we compare it? How can we compare it? I want to make it so plain that you guys get this. Remember, he said, this is my doctrine, right? Hearken, behold, get this. It is like a grain of mustard seed, which when it is sown in the earth, is less than all the seeds that be in the earth. He's telling you right here, the smallest of seeds. The mustard seed represents the smallest of seeds. So he said, what am I going to liken the kingdom of Elohim to? The smallest promise, the smallest principle in the word of Elohim. If you embrace it and you plant it, what's going to happen? But when it is sown, it grows up and becomes greater than all herbs and shoot out great branches. That small little seed produced this giant tree. And why is that so important? He's likening this unto the kingdom of Elohim. Why? There's a reason why he's making this comparison. So that the fowls of the air may lodge under the shadow of it. Now there's something heavy in this. And if you get this one right here, it was worth the price of admission. Why is this comparison so important? Why is this comparison so important? So that the fowls of the air may lodge under the shadow of it. Because of the kingdom of heaven and how it operates like a seed time and harvest principle, because of that, you can grow to such a level that Satan will be no match for you. No match for you. I'm talking about becoming bulletproof. Now I'm in a pastors and ministers conference. And once we were done with the preaching and all that stuff, we went into a retreat and all of the men were separated and the women were with the women, right? So we're in this room having a conversation. And one thing led to another, and they started talking about women and being enticed, right? So I had several stories about that. And I shared how I used to run this apartment community. And there's one girl who had already made her intentions known that I'm gonna get with Mr. Hoover. She came to my office one day and asked for an application. I said, well, I don't have any 2 bedrooms available. And I didn't at the time, but I didn't want to get another 2 bedroom because the last thing she said when she left out of my office, y'all need to get out of here because me and Mr. Hoover are gonna get busy right here on the desk. I'm like, what? And I said, y'all don't go nowhere because that ain't getting ready to happen. So this lady, if you want to call her that, was so determined to get in my community. She was camping out every day. And finally a U-Haul came in and somebody was moving out of a 2-bedroom apartment. And she came and knocked on my office door and said, I know you got a 2-bedroom apartment. Now I'm watching them move out. And I couldn't deny her because I would have caught a case, right? A fair housing case. So I'm like, I gotta rent to this girl. I gotta rent to her. So she got moved in. The same day she signed her lease, she said the same thing all over again to my staff. Y'all need to get out of this office because me and Mr. Hoover are going to get busy. I'm like, y'all don't go nowhere. This ain't getting ready to happen. I'm like, I'm gonna have to be dealing with this chick every day. Just, irritating, thorn in my side every day. One day she calls my office. She say, I got water pouring out of my ceiling in the kitchen. I need you to come check it out. All my maintenance staff were tied up doing stuff, getting units stuff ready. I said, I'll come take a look at it. So I get there, and sure enough, she got, crack in her ceiling in the bathroom, in the kitchen. And I said, well, listen, we got to open this up and find a leak, make the repair, then I'll get a contractor to come in and fix the pipe and fix your ceiling. And she was in the back of the apartment. She said, I can't hear you, come back. So I went to the hallway, and I could see in her bedroom, right? And she was, in her bed. And I said, we got to open up the ceiling and get this repaired. And she said, well, come show me. She threw her cover off. And it was like Adam and Eve. And I'm like, this chick is out of her mind. I immediately turned around and said, you better get some clothes on, because I'm sending my guys over here in 30 minutes to open this up and find out what's going on. And I made a beeline up out of that apartment. So I shared this story among these pastors and ministers, expecting to find, someone else say, man, I know exactly what you're talking about. Been there, done that, right? I've had people in my congregation, I've had this, I've had that. Do you know that not one person made a comment of a similar story? The only thing I got from that group of men, it was too many to number. All I got was, brother, I don't know if I could have done that.
Wow.
I'm like, what? I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm in this group now. Some of these people are older than I am. This was like 20, 25 years ago. So I'm a young pastor, 35. These people in there is 5, 10, 15, 20 years older than me, been in ministry longer than me.
That's crazy.
And I'm fully expecting
Right.
to, have some of these older heads drop some knowledge on a young. I've only been pastoring for maybe 4 or 5 years, maybe. So I'm expecting to get some knowledge dropped on me, and I'm getting, brother, I don't know if I could have done that. And I quit fellowshipping with him. I quit fellowshipping with him. I'm like, this ain't the group for me.
Right.
This is not the group for me, because if they can't, because here's one thing I know. The scriptures tell us that the loose woman seeks for the precious soul to destroy them. So a person that's behind the pulpit, the Bible said, blessed are the feet of those that preach the gospel. So you don't get no more precious than somebody bringing the word. So I already know. I don't care how you look. I don't care how tall, how short, how fat, how thin you are. If you're preaching the word, the devil has women on assignment to bring you down if they can. So if a preacher can't have a testimony of how they've overcome, then they don't need to be behind the pulpit, because they're not overcoming.
Right.
That's the reality. They're not overcoming. And I remember being a child going to churches, and people were laughing because that pastor, he got 3 or 4 of them kids from 3 to 4 different women sitting in his congregation. Kids from 3 or 4 different women in his congregation. And I went to go preach for a young man. He had to be 25 years old, a young so-called pastor, and he had 3 women in his church that he had babies by. And I'm telling this young brother, I said, brother, now you have a powerful gift, but you're not ready for this. You have to get your vessel under control before you start trying to lead the flock of the Most High. Right? You can't do it. So I'm saying all this to say this. I spent time in the Word to the point where I became bulletproof. In my 45 years of being saved, in my 40 years of being married, there's not a woman on the planet They can say, I've touched her inappropriately, right? I've tried to kiss on her. I've tried to whisper in her ear. It ain't a woman on the planet that can say that. And I've worked around many of them. And if you don't have that testimony, stop preaching. Get your life together. But my whole point is this. Keep in mind who I came from, who I was before I got saved. So I'm telling you, no one is without excuse. If I can become bulletproof where it comes to women, and I had a summer, my 11th grade summer, where I didn't miss a day. And most days it was 2 or 3 times. So my roommate used to say, Russ, the word he used was prolific, right? That just means that you are, at another level. Because, he was my roommate, so he knew what my lifestyle was. And he was like, dude, I ain't never seen nothing like it. So if I could go from being that to being celibate for 4.5 years and then being faithful for 40 years, no one has an excuse for why they can't overcome this thing. Is that making sense to anybody in the house? Anybody can overcome, but the key is you gotta want to. That's the key. Now notice, when I told you I'd take notes about the birds in the air, right? The birds that was eating that seed. So notice in the beginning, Satan in the form of the fowls of the air came immediately and stole the word. That person bore no fruit at all, right? He came immediately and took the word, and that word did not produce, right? But now, the fowls of the air, they can't hinder the tree. I mean, if the fowl want to, they can build a nest in that tree. They can get a whole flock and be resting on a branch of the tree. And that tree, and ain't even think about them birds, right? How many times have you went by a tree and just a whole flock of birds just flew out of it? You didn't even see them, right? And all of a sudden, they just came out from the tree and just started flying. And the tree like, so, right? And, right? Ain't bother the tree. That is a sign of a full-grown, bulletproof saint right there, right? When you give attention to the word, I don't care what your issue is. I don't care if it's being drunk, a drunkard. I don't care if it's getting high. I don't care if you have ability of resisting people of the opposite sex. I don't care what the hang-up is. The word of the Most High can make you bulletproof. How many's getting this?
Amen.
All right. That was a strong amen. I got to say right there. That was an amen. Like, I got this. I think it's starting to penetrate. Okay. So how do you arrive here? How do you get to this place? By giving diligent attention to Elohim's word. I mean, diligent attention. Did I say diligent? What I meant to say, giving diligent attention to the word of the Most High will get you where you need to be, right? And so this is one of my favorite verses. In fact, this is one of the ones I learned how to quote first. Psalms 119. It says, wherewithal. That one word there is saying a lot. Where, with all, with everything, considering everything in the earth, everything on the planet, wherewithal shall a young man cleanse his way? And he gives an answer. By taking heed thereto, according to thy word. So what is the subject here? Getting clean. I want to be clean. Just imagine yourself, you thought you was going swimming and there was a pool full of dung. And you made a mistake and you jumped in before you realized it wasn't water. Now, when you come up out of there, you want soap and you want water. You want to get clean, right? I want to get clean. And so they're telling you, they're saying, if you want to find out how to get clean, this is it. This young man is saying, where with everything? What should I consider? Should I do this? Do I need hyssop? What I need? No, you need the word, brother.
Mhm.
The word is going to help you to get clean. And so what did he do then? With my whole heart have I sought thee. Not with a partial heart,
All right.
with the whole heart have I sought thee. Oh, let me not wander from thy commandments, giving attention to it. I mean, I gave attention. You know, here's one thing. I didn't want to be no weak saint. If, you know, anything I do, I'm doing all out. I'm going to be all in or nothing. And so when I made a decision to get saved, I made a decision to get saved. I said, I'm not going to play tiddlywinks with the Most High. So if you're serious about the walk, then get serious about the solution to being a strong saint. I'm giving you guys ammunition. I guarantee you a whole lot of folk won't teach you. Because they're not, you see, the problem is if the teacher's not willing to walk that walk, he can't teach you how to walk that walk. You got to have somebody that's walking the walk before they can teach you how to walk the walk. And I'm telling you, you can do it. It's possible to live above sin. Now, I'm not saying that as a human, you don't make mistakes, right? You know, sometimes you have a conversation and you say the wrong thing and do what? You offend somebody, right? Or sometimes you may have a conversation and it don't come out exactly the right way and you do what? You offend somebody. And you got to go back and say, you know what? That didn't come out right. You know, I didn't mean to say that, right? Right? That, I mean, that's life. But I'm not getting up every day saying, you know, Terry, please forgive me because I was with this female, right? There's no excuse for that, right? That's not making a mistake. Because I would have had to go through a whole lot of steps to get to the point where I'm in the bed with somebody, right? You don't just trip over a loose step and end up in the bed with somebody, right? You know, you had to go through some steps to get to that place, right? So with my whole heart have I sought thee. Oh, let me not wander from thy commandments. And look what he said here in verse 11, my favorite verse. Thy word have I hid in my heart. For what purpose? That I might not sin against thee. So if I don't want to sin, I need to make sure my heart is full, right? If I want to harvest, I got to make sure that my garden is full of the right seed. We're talking about seed time and harvest. Believe it or not, we're still talking about Mark 4 right now. I'm just giving you some of that more ammunition. Hide the word in your heart. It is the solution. Give sincere attention to it. Let me hear what I'm saying. For what purpose? That you might not sin against the Most High. We must give attention to the word, but not just any word, right? You must find the word that deals with your particular transgression, right? There's something in that word that deals where you are. You know, if you have issues with hating people, believe it or not, there's word in there. There's a parable where this man owed this guy a life debt. He just say he owed billions of dollars, and there was no possible way he could pay it back. He owed this dude billions, and the guy said, "Pay me my money, or I'm putting you and your family into the debtor's prison." And the man said, "Please have mercy on me, and I'll repay you, but I don't have the money right now." And the man said, "You know what? I'm feeling good today. I'm gonna forgive you all that debt." I mean, he'd have been arrested his life and he couldn't pay that money back.
Yeah, but then he went.
Right? Right? So he left out of the audience with that man and found his partner that borrowed $5 so he can get a Happy Meal. And so he said, "Man, where my $5 at?" And he said, "I'm sorry, man, I don't have the money right now, but I promise you that I'll get the money and I'll pay you back." And the dude said, "No, man, give me my money, man. I need my $5. I want to go get me a hamburger." And the dude said, "I don't have it." And the dude said, Debtor prison. This dude owed me some money. Put him in the prison. And the guys that were standing by watching this knew what had just happened. Went to that man that he owed the billions of dollars to. I said, man, you're not gonna believe what Chuck just did. You forgave Chuck billions of dollars. Charlie owed him $5, and he put Charlie in prison for $5, man. And the debtor said, man, tell that, go get this dude. Go get him. And he brought him before him and said, did I not just forgive you a life debt? Couldn't you show the same kindness to your brother? So guess what? You going to prison, right? And then he said, the same measure that you forgive others is a measure that the Most High gonna forgive you, right? So if you're going around harboring, and you're saying, this dude, man, he stepped in my blue suede shoes, man. I ain't never gonna forget that, man. Them shoes were brand new. He stepped on them, he bent the toe. I ain't gonna ever forget that. But then you know how many times, because the parable is really all about the fact that the billions of dollars, that debt, that's how many times we've sinned against the Most High. A life debt.
Yeah.
And the Most High is saying, if you want me to forgive you of your life debt, then you definitely better forgive your neighbor of the little bit of stuff he done to you, because he ain't done nearly the stuff to you that you've done to me. If having forgiveness is an issue, there's plenty of stuff in the Word. And I would suggest reading some of that stuff every day, because what's going to end up happening is the more you read it, the more it's going to change your thinking. I'm going to tell you, I used to be a person that would fight at the drop of a hat. I told you when I was in college, the last fight I had, it wasn't a fight. Last time I had to beat up somebody. This guy, I was on work detail when I was at U of M. And so I used to work in the cafeteria. And one of my jobs was to restock the silverware. And this guy, when I'm trying, I got a cart full of silverware, and I'm trying to, put the forks and knives and spoons in. And this dude, bumped into me, knocked, one of the dishes out, one of the, cups over, and man, there's silverware all over the floor. And instead of him getting down and help me because it was his fault, he laughed. I mean, he just stood there and laughed. I'm like, no, I get it if you don't want to get down there and help me, but you're gonna laugh? Now, dude, I don't understand why you laugh, because I know where you live. That's why I don't understand this. I will see you. And I pondered that, man. I stood on that until I punched out. I said, man, I punched out. I made a beeline to his dorm room, knocked on the door, and he had the nerve to open the door. He didn't even, I don't know if he didn't look at the peek hole or what. He opened that door, bam! I hit him in his jaw. I said, remember? Come on, let's do this. I really wanted to fight. You don't want to just, beat another guy 6'2", like he might have been arrested or something. Let's do this, man. I've been stewing for 2 hours, waiting for this time where I can get this aggravation off, and I hit him in the jaw a second time. I said, come on, man. And he all that laughing was gone. I said, you a punk. And I hit him a third time and I walked out. I'm mad because I didn't get a good fight. And so I went and took care of some business, and I came back, and I was real good friends with the headmaster of our dorm. And he saw me come, he said, Russ, I need you to get lost. I said, why, what's up? He said, the police are here. This guy done called the police, and he's trying to get you for assault and battery. Now, I know the story. And I mean, people have been coming to me all over the place saying he had it coming. But the police are saying because you waited, it was kind of premeditated. He said, if you would just, hit him while he was on your job, I said, I didn't want to get fired. He said, I understand. But because you waited, and did it, they're saying technically he have a case. So we're just trying to talk him out of it. And so we can try to wait, smooth the thing over. So right now, I need you to get lost. So I said I had to say this. That's who I used to be. I grew up, in the hood. And, if you couldn't fight, you couldn't survive, right? And so that's who I was. When I got saved, I was in a situation where, I was at a restaurant and this guy was doing stuff he had no business doing to one of the women from the church. And I'm standing there. I said, dude, don't do that. And he's like, what you mean? I said, dude, don't do it. I see what you're doing. He's putting your hand, behind her and hoping she back up into your hand, you know, and just don't do that. Don't disrespect the woman like that. And he said, what you gonna do? I said, man, you just don't want to do that. Now the old me, wouldn't have been having no conversation. Mm-hmm. But I'm standing there saying, okay, we just got out of church, going to have dinner after the service. And I don't want to be this guy that's, still got on my church suit on, and I'm getting ready to have a fight, and I'm in front of all these Christians. And I'm like, and I was early in my salvation, so I was having a problem with making this adjustment from being, me that would find a drop of a hat to being somebody that knows how to walk and kind of hold my temper. I mean, hear what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so I had to spend a lot of time. I studied the life of David. It said Moses was the meekest man on the planet Earth. I read his life. I saw where his brother and sister came against him for marrying an Ethiopian. And instead of him saying, nah, because you got, leprosy, he's praying for her, right? I saw where David had a chance to get King Saul. Saul was trying to kill him, throwing spears and stuff at him. And every time David had a chance to get Saul, he never did it. And one time he cut Saul's robe, and as soon as he did that, his heart smote him. And so I'm looking at all this, and I said, Saul got it coming. I mean, many times he tried to kill David, right. But the first time David got a chance to get Saul, all he did was cut part of his garment, and he feels bad about it. And then I kept reading the story, and it said, when Saul died, David wept, And so I looked at that, and I said, okay. So Moses prayed for his brother and sister, and prayed that they'd be restored. David didn't fight. The one time David almost fought was when Nabal, cut the beard off his men. He said, put on your gear, we going to war. We're going to take this dude out. And Abigail came out and saw David. I said, David, don't do this thing. You already know you're going to be king over everything. Why are you going to stoop down for this man? The man's name is Nabal. That means he a fool. Now, why are you going to stoop down to the level of a fool and go and do this thing, right? You're going to go and do this thing. And it's not going to be a good light on you, David. Mm-hmm. And so David listened to Abigail and said, you know what? You are a wise woman. And I'm gonna heed your words, right? And the next day, Nabal woke up from his wine, realized what he had done to David, the same David that had killed Goliath, right? And he realized, he said, I did what? And the man was so afraid of what he had did, he had a heart attack and died. And so one of the things I gleaned from all these stories was, I don't have to fight my own battles. Right. I can actually trust the Most High. And if he sees fit to take a neighbor out, he'll take a neighbor out. And so, that's who I was when I was on that job. And that dude kept messing with me. And finally, it just came out of my spirit. Man, if you don't stop this, you're going to lose this job. And within 48 hours, he was gone. So right. I learned how to trust the Most High and not fight my own battles. How? Because I gave attention to the word. Is that making sense to anybody in the room? It's all in the word. I don't care what it is you deal with. You give enough attention to it, it will develop. In fact, what I called that particular lesson that I did was the meekness principle. I called it the meekness principle because I wanted to become like David. I wanted to become like Moses. And so now I don't get angry. I just don't. I don't get angry. I trust the Most High. That guy that was hitting people in the job, that guy don't even exist anymore.
I can't. I mean.
But I got you. But guess what? I was that guy. And so I'm telling you, I'm sharing these stories with you to let you know, if I can change because of the word, anybody can change. Because I had no big brothers. I was the big brother. I had to learn how to fight. I mean, it was fighting on my street almost every day. Almost every day. I had to learn how to fight or die.
Mhm.
How many hear what I'm saying?
Amen.
Right? So, fighting for me was a way of life. But when I came to this life, I had to learn a different way of doing it. And the scriptures gave it to me. All right. I hope y'all getting some out of this. We must examine our lives in the light of the word that was sown. So what does that mean? Sometimes you will hear a message and it will find you,
Mhm.
right? It will, you will know from hearing the word that, wow, I'm not meeting that measure. So the thing you don't want to do is hide from that word. We used to have a tape ministry when I was first got saved, and when I got a message that really was dealing with the issues that I was dealing with, I would get that message and I would listen to it over and over and over again. I had a cassette in my car. Every time I was in my car, I'm listening to that message, and I listened to it and listened to it until I found my thinking becoming in line with the word that I heard. And so I heard it. I heard it to the point where it's like, you know what? I'm not. I'm not. I'm not going to be that guy. I'm going to make this change. I'm going to make this adjustment. So what I was doing by listening to the message, it was being hidden in my heart. I was planting that seed in the soil of my heart, and that was causing me to be transformed into a new man. I mean, hear what I'm saying? That's what you must do. That's the key. Find out where you are. Don't run from your sin. Don't hide from your sin. Discover it and expose it to the word that will cleanse you. And that process will cause you to become a new person. I mean, what I'm saying.
Amen.
All right. For me, it's like all the women that held me captive in my youth. I was a slave to that life. I was all about that life. I was a slave to that life. But once I allowed the word to take root in my heart, women were no longer a temptation for me. And to this day, they are no longer a temptation for me. I am bulletproof because of giving attention to his word.
That's good.
Right? But I'm not an exception to the rule. I am an example of the rule. That's why I can teach you this with full confidence. Because if he could change me from being fighting at the drop of a hat, if he could change me from trying to pick and choose that woman and see if I can't get it that night, that's who I was. I would challenge myself. That's who I was. But I'm not that guy anymore, right? So there are no more a problem to my existence than a bird resting in a tree branch is a problem to that tree. I don't have any issue. There's no woman, and I'm talking about Amazons. If you don't know what an Amazon is, that's a mysterious place where all is ran by women. They all beautiful women, athletic type women. I don't care. I've had the full spectrum, different races, different ages, doesn't matter, right? You can win in this life. You can win in this life, okay? Now think about this. Birds build nests in trees all the time, right? So we talking about the seed time and harvest thing. Birds build nests in trees all the time. But when that tree was first planted, when the tree seed was first put in the ground, that bird was a threat to that tree's existence. But once a tree grows up and becomes full grown, mature, it never again in its life will a bird be a threat to a tree. Never. Never. And that's what I'm saying. You can get bulletproof. You can become bulletproof in this life, y'all. Okay? And do you think the tree is stressing out because birds are resting on its limbs? No. I'm not stressing. The tree is not bothered at all. I could care less. Build a family there. I don't care. Have a family reunion. I don't care. It ain't bothering me. I'm gonna be here today. I'm gonna be here tomorrow. I'm gonna be here next month, next year, next decade. I just watched a thing on YouTube. This tree is finally dying after about 1,000 years. 1,000 years. One of the biggest trees on the planet. Yeah, one of the 5 biggest trees on the planet. Been there for, they say they predict about 1,000 years. The thing is so big, so huge. Could care less about a bird. So here we go, Romans 12, we're almost done. Romans 12:1, put this in your notes, 1 and 2. I beseech you, I beg you, I encourage you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Elohim, what? That you present your bodies a living sacrifice, right? Present your body a living sacrifice. How? Holy. Anything that's consistent with being holy and acceptable unto Elohim. Look what it says here now, which is really hard for you to do. Is that what it's saying?
No.
Which is impossible for any human. Hmm? Which is your reasonable service. So for me to present my body as a living sacrifice in a holy state, acceptable unto Elohim, is a reasonable request. Now, he's not going to request something of you that's not possible. True or true, right? He's not going to ask you to do something that is not physically possible for you to do. And now here's the key. And be not conformed to this world. I know this world is a loose world. They just, everything is sex, 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 sex. Everywhere, right? Everywhere. But guess what? In my world, I don't see it that often. Sometime when I go out into the marketplace, I'll see, half butt cheeks hanging out, right? And when I go shopping, man, most of my time I'm looking up at the ceiling. Just make sure I'm looking down enough to not run my cart into somebody. But I made a vow with my eyes. I made a vow with my eye. I don't go out there looking and staring. Right? One of the things I do, I study. I'm still in school. I'm getting a PhD in Terry Hoover. Right? So when I'm around my wife, I do study her. Right? And I let her know all the time, wow, you look really nice today, right? But when I go out into the marketplace, I'm not trying to study them females. Because you know what? Because they're not mine. Right? Why am I going to spend a lot of attention on somebody that's not mine, that I cannot have legally? Why am I going to tempt myself with something that I can't have legally? What sense does that make? Why would I do that to myself? Right? So I'm not going to be conformed to the world. I don't care how loose goosey they get. But be transformed. How? By the renewing of your mind. So that means that the thoughts that I have in my mind can be changed. I can literally renew this mind. I'm gonna tell you, when I was in college, my roommate used to get Hustler and Playboy books. And then we on our living room, we had a play pit. And we had a play pit. Some things curved all the way around the room, right? We had a play pit. And we had a table in the middle of it, and he'd have his Hustler magazines there. So I used to, sit there sometime and read them. They had all kind of weird stuff that they advertised, right? And one of the things they had in there was orgies. He was talking about orgies in one article. I said, well, that'd be interesting, right? Now, when I got saved, I thought back on that moment. I said, man, how gross would that be? Right? But when I was in the world, that was one of the things on my bucket list. Wow. It was on my bucket list. Now it grosses me out. The thought of it, right? Why? Because I was transformed by the renewing of my mind. I was able to bust out those old worldly ideas, replace them with holy ideas. And guess what happened when I begin to think holy? I begin to act holy. Isn't that amazing? When your thinking becomes holy, your actions become holy, right? That you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of Elohim. For the committed believer, folks, this is your destination. I've just shown you the roadmap to how you're gonna win in this life. Because the Most High, right? Because of the Most High, you are bound to win in this life. He's really equipped us with everything we need. And so what I am committing to do is to be one of those leaders. And I'm not, it was a prophet, Elijah. And I do not have the Elijah complex. Elijah had a complex. Elijah killed 850 prophets in one day. They were prophets of Baal, and he had a contest with them, who can get, call down fire from heaven. And he gave them a chance to do it, and they couldn't do it. And he did it in a moment, basically maybe a 50-word prayer or less, right? And that fire came down from heaven, and he had the Israelite, when they said, when that fire came down, they said, Yahweh, he is Elohim. Yahweh, he is Elohim. And once he had the whole, nation of Israel, saying that, he said, get them prophets, man. And he killed 850 prophets in one day. But when Jezebel found out about it, she sent a note to Elijah and said, just what you did to my 850 prophets, I'm going to do to you by this time tomorrow. And the man, instead of trusting the Most High, who had already gotten to that point, he became despondent. And he was sitting down by his beautiful plant.
You talking about Elijah?
Elijah, yeah, Elijah.
The same Elijah that God became and got. No.
Yeah. The same one that split the water, and he came and got him in the fiery chariot. Yeah. In fact, the fiery chariot came a couple of chapters after what I'm talking about. Right. Because he's sitting down by this plant, and his plant was beautiful, and the plant died. He got despondent because the plant died. And he was by this river, and the Most High had been feeding him with ravens and all this stuff. His whole life was a miracle. But when he got threatened by Jezebel, it took him out the game. So finally, the Most High called him to his mountain, and they having a conversation. And he said, why are you here, Elisha? And he basically said, I'm very jealous, for the Most High. All your prophets are killed. Only I am left to serve you, right? And so he had this, I call it the Elijah syndrome, that he believed that he was the only one. And the Most High told him, you know what? I got 7,000 that have never bowed a knee to Baal. I got a people. You're not the only one. I got a people. But since you're in this state, go and anoint Jehu to be king. Go and get Elisha. He's going to take over your place. He put these things in order. And then he eventually was taken up into the fiery chariot. So I'm saying that to say this. I am very angry for the Most High. I'm angry because I see a lot of foolishness. And I see a lot of foolishness from leadership. And I told you the experience I had in that minister's retreat. And I have not seen enough so-called people behind the pulpit that gives me a lot of confidence of what's going on in this community. I'm really bothered by that. But I am committing to being a person that can say this: follow me as I follow the Mashiach. And I promise not to lead you off a cliff. I will not be that blind guy, right? That's going to lead you astray. I'm going to show you the things you need to do to win. That's what I'm all about. So I'm going to read this again. For the committed believer, winning this life is your destination. I want you to know that. Because of the Most High, you are bound to win, right? And the devil is destined to lose. He's already a defeated foe. All my job is to teach you how to defeat him. But you got to want this life. You got to want this life, right? So do not be shaped by this world. This world is already lost. Do not be shaped by this world. But last few verses, Colossians 3. If you then be risen with Mashiach, you got to seek those things which are above, where Mashiach sits on the right hand of Elohim. You got to seek those things that are above, the eternal things. You got to prioritize the eternal things. Set your affections. You know how you set a clock? So, daylight saving time, you can actually change the time. You can literally set your affections on things above and not on the things of this earth. That's got to be a decision that you make. Once you make that decision, that's what I'm going to do. Then you can begin to wean yourself off all those things that was pulling you towards the way of the world. Okay. Well, what? You are dead. You're dead what? To the world. Imagine now, you ever gone to a funeral and the person in the casket, you know, if you wouldn't pinch them, would they get mad at you? If you stuck them with a pen, do you think they get up and scream? Right? If you beat them with a hammer, what do you think they'll say? Nothing. Why? Because they dead. You got to be dead to the world. You got to be dead to worldly things. You got to be dead to all the things that the world think are worth living for. You got to die out to that foolishness, right? You are dead to the world, and your life is hid with Mashiach and Elohim. Your life is in him. Any life you're trying to get outside of him is not life. It's a trick of the enemy, all right? And we're almost done. Matthew 13. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a merchant man, seeking goodly pearls, who, when he has found one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had and bought it. The kingdom of heaven is like this merchant man looking for pearls. What does that tell you? What does this parable should tell you? There is great value in the kingdom of heaven. If you are living your existence and you don't see the value in the kingdom, that means you haven't found it. That's the only thing that's missing. That's really the only thing that's missing. It's because you haven't searched for it. There's stuff in that word more valuable than anything you've ever experienced. And there's promises in that word that's greater than anything you've ever heard before. And if you ever give attention to it, give it the attention that it deserves, I guarantee you that you will die out to the world. How many hear what I'm saying? And that's it.
Wait, don't forget that.
Oh yeah.
6 and 33.
6 and 33. It says to seek ye first the kingdom of Elohim and his righteousness, which means his way of doing things. And then what does it say? All these things that the Gentiles are seeking after shall be what? Added unto you. Y'all get that? Seek ye first. Put Most High first. Seek his kingdom and his way of doing things. And then all the things, you know, you need finances, you know, you may need a house, you may need a car. If you're single and you desire to be married, you're looking for Boaz, if you're a female, right? Huh? Right? Matthew 6 and 33, is that what it said? So that's what I want you guys to do. That's your assignment. To put his word, his kingdom first place. Give attention to it. Anything that causes you to start drifting towards the world, be willing to cut it off. Right? Be willing to cut it off. Right? If you know you got friends that are pulling you in the wrong direction, you gotta make a decision. Is this guy worth your soul? Is this person worth your soul? That's a question you gotta ask, right? And if not, and then there's nobody on the planet that's worth your soul, you got to go. You got to go. All right. Any questions or comments?
Let me ask you a question. If you was to see God, what would happen?
If you will seek him?
No, see him.
You can't see him.
Right.
Remember with Moses?
Right.
Moses asked to see all of the glory of the Most High.
Right.
And he said, Moses, no man can see my face and live.
Yeah.
But I'm going to put you up in this cliff. I'm going to put my hand over you in this cliff. And I'm going to walk past you. And you're going to see my back parts. And you'll be able to live. But you cannot see my face and live. Yeah, you cannot see my face and live. Right? So that's not going to happen. That's why we got to get this glorified body. And once we get this glorified body, then we can see him in all his glory. And I'm guarantee you that there's not going to be experience on the planet that's going to compare to that. Okay?
I just promise you, I was just arguing with the boy earlier. Same guy that the same guy that was telling D'Angelo all of that other crazy stuff. And he was like, we had another guy was having a conversation. He said, you know what? I see the devil, I see God, I see Jesus.
Right.
I said, you seen who?
That's
And you ain't there yet.
right, exactly. People talk foolishness, but you have to stand on the word. That's why you need to know the word. When somebody starts talking like that, I say that's off. That's just off. And if you want to keep talking off, that's probably somebody you don't want to spend a lot of time with. If you want to listen to reason, don't cast your pearls before swine.
He walked away from me when I said that.
Right.
He walked away.
Yeah, because he knows he's wrong. Right? He knows he's wrong. Okay. Any other questions? All right, did y'all get some out of this today?
Oh my gosh.
Right, y'all ready to put y'all foot in the devil's butt?
Yeah.
Right, now, that's the one guy you can fight at the drop of a hat.
I can. I mean, I'm sorry.
I'm proud of y'all for being here today, and being able to take this word in, especially that word from last week. I know it was a tough word, but
What word?
Last week.
Yeah, it was a tough word. I mean,
Last week.
Talking about the
yeah,
fornication.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I've been going through it. I've been going through it this week.
Yeah, but it's all good.
It makes you think.
Yeah, you're gonna be strong.
Right, it's a thinker.
Yeah.
We like, whoa, wait.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and pray out. Blessed you, Yahweh Yeshua, our Elohim, King of the universe, who gave us a Torah of truth and implanted eternal life within us. Blessed are you, Yahweh Yeshua, giver of the Torah, in Yeshua's name, so be it. And then run a benediction. Yivarekaka Yahweh Badishmareka. Ya'er Yahweh Panabaleka V'Komeka. Yisai Yahweh Panabaleka V'Semeka. Shalom. And may Yahweh bless you and keep you. May Yahweh make his face shine on you and show you his favor. May Yahweh lift his face towards you and give you what? Shalom. Peace. Nothing missing, nothing broken, nothing lacking. Listen, saints, I do want to encourage all of you to visit the YouTube channel. That is Dr. Russ E. Hoover. Visit the channel. This message will be dropped on YouTube Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. sharp. Okay, so you can get the replay of this message and listen to it as many times as you need to get it built up in these principles of the kingdom of heaven, right? The seed time and harvest, learning how to hide the word in your heart so you can be transformed into another person. So I want to encourage you to get a chance to visit, to subscribe to the channel, to like the videos, and make sure you like all the videos. I need y'all to do that. I'm gonna give y'all that assignment. That's your homework. To go and like the videos, like all the videos. If you have questions about any of the videos, feel free to ask a question in the chat on the message. You got an opportunity to leave questions, or if you leave a comment. If it's being a blessing to you, just make a short message. Appreciate the word, really bless me, really encourage me. Just anything. When I read those, it gives me fuel for the next week. Okay. So make sure you do that. Share it with others that you think might benefit from it. And we appreciate you all. Okay. So till next time, Shavua Tov. And remember now, greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. So I read in the book, I know that we win and the devil loses, right? All right. Till next time. Dr. Russ, we're out.